Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, so welcome to Closet Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is Ghost in the Shell from 1996, and it's about 1 hour and 22 minutes long. And the movie starts with a dystopian landscape and a text explaining about the mega corporations that basically can do whatever they want in this future, and then cutting to the main female character called Yusanagi. She is a cyborg, and she's listening in on some bad guys. I think they're politicians or something. And she takes her clothes off. And that's one of the things about this movie. She's a cyborg, and she needs to take her clothes off for some reason to activate her cloaking device. So that's it. So the police basically storms the apartment, and there's some gunfire, and Usagi moves in, and she shoots the guy in the face or something, and he dies, and she jumps out the window and falls out the window, and there's glass shattering and stuff, and she activates her cloaking device, and there's a really cool effect. It's like the stealth camouflage in Metal Gear Solid, if that makes sense. And then cutting to the real intro credits, where they actually build a cyborg, and this is a 13-year-old boy's wet dream where they actually see a lot of booba and skin. I don't know, I found that funny. It's like, why? It's not necessary, but whatever, it's a movie. So Yusanagi wakes up in her apartment and goes to talk to her chief at the Section 9, and well, that's about it. There's like this political tension where in this future, basically corporations, it's like this old Soviet system, like everyone is watching everyone basically, like, so it's like a lot of rules that you have to follow, and I find it kind of interesting for the time period and everything. And then they talk about the puppet master, which is this individual, this person that hacks cyborg brains, because in a cyborg's head, which is like the only thing that they preserve in a cyborg from being human, so he basically hacks the ghost, which is the thing that makes you, like your individuality. So Yusanagi and this guy called Lee, they're out in a van and tracking people that got their brains hacked. And there's this guy that drives a garbage truck with his buddy, and he talks to his buddy about his daughter and wife, that he's at home, and he talks his ear off and he doesn't want to hear it. But the fact is that there is no wife, there is no kid, his brain has been hacked. So somehow they try to follow up on this guy basically to get to the puppet master, and the garbage truck guy kind of realized that they're after him, and he drives off. And there's this other guy called Batu which help on the chase, and what happens is that this guy open fires at Lee and Usagi's car, and the car flips, and there's like a firefight and a chase scene, and Batu, this other agent with really cool prosthetic eyes, he's helping out, and they basically end up in a puddle of water, like a dried out, like a shallow water, if you can say like that. And she basically fights the guy with like her stealth, and it's a really cool animated effect. Nothing is computer generated in this movie. It's all hand drawn. It's really beautiful, and she does this while wearing her stealth camouflage. And it turns out that this guy that she basically takes down has also had his brain hacked. And they just try and track down this puppet master. So they interview this other guy that was in the garbage truck, and they basically explain to him that he doesn't have a wife, he doesn't have a kid, and all of it was a lie. So they show him like a photo that he has taken of his kid, but it's really just a photo of him. But what he sees is actually his kid, and when he tried to answer, well, how old is your kid, and where is your wife, and what does she work, he can't answer it. And then you realize that his brain is hacked, and there's really nothing they can do about it, because once a cyborg brain is hacked, you can't go back to the old memories. It's basically been overwritten. It's really a sad scene, because he doesn't have a life now. So Yusanagi do some deep diving in like a river or something, like a lake near the city, and she basically floats down to the bottom and gets up to the surface, and she climbs up on a boat where what was his name? Batu is sitting and drinking a beer, and they basically have a talk, and they share a beer, and they talk about how she is very careless about her cyborg body, and they talk forward and back about the ghost and the shell and the hacks and whatnot, and she basically says that she's been having voices in her head rather recently, and that's not a good sign. So later Yusanagi sees a woman that looks exactly like her, and it starts to rain. It's a really beautiful like shot of the city and rain and boats and everything. and then cutting to a naked blonde cyborg on the freeway, and she gets hit by a car and later gets taken into District 9 to be investigated what was wrong. So there's somehow a ghost in there, and Batu and Izanagi talks while they're in an elevator, and the boss of District 9 talks to two other guys. I think they are American. And Lee thinks that something is wrong, so he checks the security footage, and something is really off, and he tries to like get all the details. And meanwhile this is happening, they try to hack the blonde cyborg, and it turns out it's actually the puppet master inside of the thing. So Izanagi and Batu is there, and they're basically looking at all this thing and what the puppet master has to say, and the puppet master shuts down their own system. It runs it from its own body. So this is a real interesting hack. So the puppet master talks to them and tells them he's basically like an AI, but not really. He was born in the flow of information. He's basically, his real name is 2501 and was this experimental thing. And he's doing this for a reason. He's looking for someone, and we don't know this yet. So there's a big explosion because the two bad guys were actually bad, go figure, and they steal the body of the puppet master, and there's like an explosion, and there's some shooting, and Lee managed to shoot a tracker on the bad guys. And then there's like Yusagi gears up, and she's supposed to get the puppet master's body, which he is currently inhabiting, or destroy it. That's the whole thing. So Batu tries to help. While this is happening, he's trying to get like some gear, and that will be important later in the movie. So Yusagi follows this van or this car to an abandoned warehouse, but he's just waiting for her. And she tries something, and she shoots at the car where the puppet master is inside, and there's like a huge mech robot that decloaks and starts firing at her, and she's outgunned and she's outnumbered. And she decides to go full stealth, so she obviously takes her clothes off, and she goes direct for the thing, and she tries to like break the main hatch of the cyborg, but it doesn't go well. She breaks all of her cyborg muscles, which is just like a really nice animated effect, but it's really disturbing when they actually tear the muscle out of the it's really, really crazy how they actually managed to animate this. And she gets taken and almost destroyed, and when things seems to be just as dire, Batu comes in with like a big rocket launcher or something. He just destroys the thing. But meanwhile this is happening, this other, I think is like a district or like section 7 or something is in there, and they're basically going to take out the puppet master and Izanagi, because now Izanagi and the puppet master are basically, she's taking a deep dive to basically find out what's happening. And then the puppet master takes her body over, and vice versa. And they have this conversation about them actually merging, because he wants to create a new being that is outside of the system or something. It's really mind-bending. So the police moves in, and Batu like takes his hand and covers Izanagi's face, and the puppet master is destroyed, and Izanagi's body is destroyed as well. But little do they know that Batu saves her head, Izanagi's head, and takes it back, and he basically puts her mind into this really weird like smaller version of her, like a child cyborg. And they basically, what happens is there's now like a fusion between the puppet master and her inside this body, and she basically she's moving out of there. So there's this really weird situation where everything is kind of concocted into this thing, and she just leaves, and there's no closure in the end. But yeah, so what do I think about Ghost in the Shell from 1996? It's a really good movie. It's really well animated. There has like some kind of 3D effects, but they mainly have like when they're tracking like the garbage truck and stuff. I think that's CG, but everything else is like really well done and really well shaded, and I really like this movie. So I definitely, this is an interesting point, I definitely recommend the animated movie, the 1996 one, because that one is good, but the one with Scarlett Johansson from like the 2000 something, I would not recommend you watching that. So watch the original animated anime. So anyway, thanks for listening and watching, and take care.